We begin this chapter where we left off. Dolores was now acting as Vikir's support. She stands in the back casting her holy magic to buff Vikir to the point that he had achieved the swordmaster stage, allowing him to turn his aura into a solid state, wearing it like a form of armor against their fight with Dantalion. In the midst of their battle, the holy saint could feel it. The sadness of countless children being sacrificed, their feelings of anger and hatred towards the demon who sacrificed them, and the emotions felt by the Night Hound, all of those feelings were now being shared with her in their battle against evil. She recalled something that the Pope had said to her a long time ago, that the Saintess can be awakened by meeting her true companion, and that meeting is right here, right now. Clasping her hands tightly together, she becomes determined to give all the divine power she had to the Night Hound, her true companion that she had finally found. The spell she was casting is called Soul Resonance, a blessing where the Saintess can give their divine power to the soul companion they acknowledge and temporarily raise their stats. The Night Hound, or rather our boy, Vikir van Baskerville, could feel every inch of the blessing's power coursing through his veins, amplifying his abilities to the maximum, allowing him to reach the supreme domain. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the moment the first swordmaster awakened amongst his generation. Basking in all his glory, Dantalion was afraid. He couldn't believe with all his demonic eyes that he was witnessing the emergence of a swordmaster. Sweat began to drip down the demon's head, as he knew that amongst the humans there were only a select few who could reach the swordmaster's level. Even though he knew that Vikir formed a threat, Dantalion thought that he only needed to be careful around him, and that the ones he should fear the most would be the patriarchs of the noble families who should be swordmasters. He couldn't believe that the young child in front of him was able to meet the qualifications of a swordmaster. But as he was busy in his thoughts, Dantalion's view of Vikir suddenly went upside down, leaving him to wonder what was going on as his head was sliced up and flipping through the air without him even knowing what happened to him. With just a single swing of his blade, Vikir sends numerous slices of aura through the air from a distance, cutting and dismembering Dantalion into pieces. As his body flies everywhere, Vikir appears in an instant and stomps onto the demon's mouth, reminding him that the souls he had collected have disappeared after being purified, which means that the tricks he can use have disappeared since he was now faceless. With all this information and seeing his current state, Vikir taunts the demon, telling him that he must be experiencing fear and despair, like the countless victims he had killed before. And that was true. Dantalion was in full panic mode. He didn't even notice Vikir's attacks anymore, and believed that this was where he was going to meet his end. In order to open the gate that connects to the demon realm, Dantalion was ordered to save up mana, which made him believe that he could conquer the human world soon. But he didn't anticipate that there was a single human who kept getting in the demon world's way. Leaving the demon with no other choice, Dantalion decides to kill Vikir, even if he has to put his own life on the line for the sake of the plan. Something starts to happen, as Vikir was quick to notice that the fight didn't end here. Dantalion's face started to morph and change as he mocks the Night Hound, telling him that he wasn't done yet. Revealing a new gigantic form, Dantalion reveals that he still had one face left to play as he towers over Vikir. He declares to everyone present that he was going to self-destruct in order to take them down with him, even the people who were staying at the orphanage at this time. The demon was in serious mode as even Dolores could feel his dangerous aura pricking her skin from where she stood. Panic starts to set in her mind as she tells the Night Hound that they needed to do something quick in order to protect the area. In a calm manner, our boy simply tells the Saintess to chill. Even in the face of a massive bomb, Vikir assures the Saintess that there was nothing to worry about. The reason was because he was sure that he could reach it now. Before he had regressed, Vikir had yearned to reach the level he was at his entire life. Vikir believed that he could reach the sword that Hugo had shown him from before, where he ripped the sky in half with a single swing of his sword. Dantalion started to go off, shouting out to his fellow brothers that he hopes that they carry out the order for the fall of the human world. But before the big explosion, a distortion happens. Vikir has done it. He unleashes the strongest strike that he knows now, cutting the demon bomb right in half in a single swing. But the attack doesn't end there. Vikir's strike could be seen from outside the building. A red streak of light appears in the middle of the night, exploding in the sky. Every volunteer in the orphanage could feel the tremors of Vikir's strike. PG woke up, all confused about the earthquake they were experiencing right now. We turn back to the Saintess, who believes in what the Night Hound had told her. She remained calm up to the point she opened her eyes. What she saw left her in awe, leaving her weak in the knees as she collapsed onto the ground. Vikir had done it. He was able to follow in Hugo's step. Instead of a big fat demon bomb, what remained was an open view to the night sky after the clouds had been forcibly split apart. Sinclair gazes out the window of their lodging, her face struck with awe as well as she witnesses the beautiful night sky, wondering what it was, remaining unaware that this was all because of one man's skill. That night, the incident at the Indulgentia orphanage engulfed the imperial capital in fear. Another terror attack had struck the Quo Vadis family's orphanage. Just like the previous incident, the Night Hound was identified as the culprit, and the crowds started to gather at the scene of the crime. Bianca couldn't believe that the Night Hound was where they were as she looked at the crowd forming. Sinclair finds it scary, as a terror attack happened at exactly where they were staying. PG couldn't believe that all that happened on their last day, while Tudor calls it a shame, as he thought that he missed his chance to catch the Night Hound in order to prove his qualification to be a great hero. Sancho was surprised over the fact that he heard that there were no casualties, which was unusual to him. PG reminded Sancho that the headmaster, Sir Quilty, had gone missing since yesterday, along with all of his bodyguards. This meant that they might have been fallen victims of the Night Hound's terror attack. Looking at Dolores as she walks past them, the group of student volunteers believe that she must be very distressed over this news. Pietro was accompanying Dolores as they made their way through the orphanage together. He was struggling over the news he heard from her, about the fact that Quilty, someone he thought just had uncomfortable traits, was actually a demon in disguise, added on the fact that the Night Hound was actually the person who resolved the situation, and not the one that caused it. Pietro finds that ambushing a branch of their family was unforgivable, but he found it personally refreshing that he had cut off a rotten section of their family. But he knew that even if this was the truth, he wasn't sure that the public would accept it. Having been silent during their entire time together, Dolores decides to make a move, walking past Pietro and telling him sorry for what was going to happen from now on. She stood in front of the news reporters, thanking them for being here, and asking them to listen closely to what she has to say next. The news reporters were surprised to see her in front of them, spreading the news that the Saintess had something to say about the incident. As more of them begin to gather in front of her, Dolores starts to take out a book she had hidden in her clothes. A memory surfaces from the night of the battle. Vikir could be seen handing her a book, telling Dolores that it contains the truth about the Quo Vadis family, and that she should be the one to decide what to do with it. Wasting no time at all, Dolores starts to read out loud about what was inside the book from day 0 of month 0, the sales log of the exemptions and indulgences, the addresser Quilty Lune Indulgentia, the consignee Cardinal Humbert Lune Quo Vadis. Viscount Vecoin murdered his parents due to them wanting to donate all of their assets instead of passing them down. He took their assets after disguising their deaths as accidents. All of his sins were forgiven after paying 1.5 billion gold in cash. She goes further, talking about Baron Lasso, how he murdered his maid after doing wicked things to her, then burying her in the sewer. All of his sins were forgiven after paying 200 million gold in cash. Sir Fig, he murdered his partner in order to monopolize their investments. His sins were forgiven after paying 800 million gold in cash. After shouting out the sins of the donors, the news reports were alarmed to hear this. They couldn't believe that the church would sell exemptions to demons like them, but some of them didn't believe what Dolores said, thinking that Cardinal Humbert wasn't the type of person to do such wicked things. Hearing the mixed reactions from them, Dolores continues to read out loud the sins the people have committed and paid to be free of them. Next up is Count Azel, who had evaded approximately 100 billion gold of taxes, and was free of his sins after paying 300 million gold in cash. Dolores continued to read each and every one of the entries in the book she was holding, no longer stopping even if she was scared of her father, because she wanted to be someone that a certain person wouldn't be ashamed of. Dolores further declares to everyone that she personally believes that the buying and selling of sins with money should be considered blasphemy against God. She continues to swear that such brutalities will no longer occur in the Quo Vadis family. Far away from her, Vikir was seen sitting at the same place where he used to spend time with Perry. Even from here, he could hear what Dolores was saying clearly. Gazing into the afternoon sky, Vikir realized that even after he had regressed, her righteous heart still hasn't changed one bit. After the battle with Dantalion, Vikir knew that there were only 9 elite corpses left. Even after defeating one of them, Vikir had a hint of sadness in his eyes as he looked down. slowly rubbing the seat with his hand and swearing out loud that at the end of his journey in this life he was going to create a future where children like Perry could live and laugh with all the joy in the world in their hearts. As he left the place where he had spent time with her, a cross was seen with Perry's name tag and the flower wreath she had made for Vikir laid there neatly, a reminder that a young beautiful girl called Perry had existed in this world, and that he hoped that she could finally laugh peacefully there.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.